Hello and welcome to the weekly GCN webinar. To take my class and learn more about how to be a working actor, please go to the link over there. There it is. There it is. Please go to that link. All right, now on with the show.
All right. So hello to everyone who's tuning in. Welcome to the weekly Get Cats Now. Oh, yes. Thank you for being here today.
It's the only way I know how.
Yeah. Welcome to the weekly Get Cats Now Business of the Business webinar. This week, I'm so excited about our guest. I'm excited every week, but especially this week. This is Katie Oxman. Now, I started following Katie, I don't know, a couple of years ago on Instagram for her like amazing, colorful, at the time, very Disney-ish content, which is something I love. Yeah, look at this. Look at the color coordination. Oh my gosh. Like, yes.
Just
So that's
proving
what got me here. And then one day I was at an EPA in the bathroom at the Equity building, as happens. And then there was Katie and I was like, hey, like I follow you on Instagram. And like ever since then, I've been keeping up with everything that has been going on for you, which is so many things. And I have so many things I want to ask you about. But first of all, just thank you so much for sharing your afternoon with us.
Always. I'm delighted to talk to you and everyone. I talk a lot about how much I needed to hear when I was in college and just out of college and right before college that I didn't hear. Like the list is really, really endless. So I always say yes, because if I can correct that even a little bit retrospectively, that's all I want to do. Basically.
Oh my gosh, I love it. I feel exactly the same way. So honestly, like that was the first thing that I wanted to just jump off of with you. So I know from following you a bit of your story, but for everyone who doesn't, just give us like a little bit of the rundown of like, I know that you were involved in like High School Musical Theater Awards, and that kind of was a big thing that led to the rest of your journey. So just if you can, give us a nice little summary of all of that and then into your training and all of that stuff.
I did high school theater like all of us, hundreds, millions, thousands of us do, and I was the lead in everything, like everyone who then goes to college is like, oh, but I was the lead in everything, same boat. Loved it. And I applied to NYU, early decision. I thought I was going to get in because I was like, I'm amazing, I've always been amazing. I didn't. And then I applied to Carnegie Mellon and Emerson, Boston Conservatory, and like one other that I can't think of, like all like top notch,
top schools. Yeah.
And I was like, and I'm gonna get in because I'm amazing, and I didn't get in anywhere, nowhere. And I was only devastated about NYU because that's what I was always like, oh well, New York. I was born in the city, so I was like, I'll go back there ASAP. It'll be no brainer. That's my journey. And then so I wasn't like heartbroken, but I was like, okay, well, I guess I'll just go straight to the city and like go start auditioning. And I was upset, but I was like, all right, I guess that's what's happening. And then I won the Best Actress in Connecticut, who goes to I don't even know if they still do it the same way anymore. And I was only the second Jimmy Awards ever. We were the first year that it was on Broadway.
Oh, no way.
Was that 2010, and my group was amazing because like Stephanie Styles was in my group, and like and then look at what happened to her. It makes me so happy. And like all these other girls that I still like love and follow. It's so funny to me. But
love that.
But I did that, and it was run by some people from Pittsburgh who also work at Point Park, and like the president of Point Park University came to the thing, and Keisha Lalama White was the choreographer of the show, and then she like was talking to me in the bathroom. We were just the two of us. It was like a movie. Wow. And she was like, I heard you're not going to college. And I was like, well, I didn't get in, and like, I'm just going to go start auditioning. And she was like, well, you should come to Point Park. And I was like, okay. So like they helped me submit after the deadline. This was a very freak luck thing. It was sort of like the whole point of the competition was to send people to like colleges or like give them scholarships. So it wasn't like they were like, let's just hand you this. It was like they were like, let's like open it up. And I was like, okay, cool. But it was terrifying because then I just was going suddenly to college and I had no time to prep. I had never been to Pittsburgh before.
Wow.
That's where my anxiety started. I can trace it all back to going to college in a place that I had never imagined, in a place I had never been, knowing nothing, knowing no one. Woo. But Pittsburgh is an amazing town, and I'm endlessly grateful that I spent 5 years there, because not only did I meet my partner and get my dog, I got my equity card at the CLO.
Oh,
also,
okay.
Pittsburgh has an amazing theater scene, as do so many places other than New York. And that being the place where I got my card and my feet wet and got to like see some theater and like really feel like I was a part of the scene was like a gift I couldn't have prepared for, because you can't get that in the city unless you are one of the luckiest people alive or your parents are already Broadway producers. Otherwise, you're going to be paying, waiting, all that good stuff. You have to go elsewhere to get it at that period in your life. So I'm really grateful that I ended up in Pittsburgh. I have a lot of mixed feelings about college for theater in general. Like, I want everyone to follow their dreams. And if that's what you want to do, you want to do. I stayed an extra year because I was working a lot in Pittsburgh and theater. And again, the CLO is there, Carnegie Mellon is there, lots of really good stuff is there. It's a great place, but that's everywhere. There's like something there that you go, oh yeah, that place. And, and it's not all New York. So anyway, but then we decided to move to New York. So now I've been living here almost 6 years, I think. It's only like 6 years of here, but I feel like an expert because I just spent every single waking day of my life dealing with it for the past 6 years, which is that long journey of realizing that success has nothing to do with Broadway. In fact, if you're successful without Broadway in the mix, then you're doing something probably better, cooler, or more impressive because of how you made it happen for yourself. And it always, for the first couple of years that I was here, I was just miserable all the time, getting rejected all the time. And I was desperate, which we've all heard that advice, which is like, if you're just desperate and you don't know anything about yourself and it's your whole worth and it's all tied up in that, everyone in every audition room ever, TV, film, theater, doesn't matter, can smell that a mile away. And it's gonna hinder you. They don't want desperation. But you also, it's so hard to unlearn that. I was like, but I am desperate. My whole life, everyone's like, you're gonna be a star, you're gonna be on Broadway, you're gonna be easy, you're gonna get an NYU, didn't. You're gonna be on Broadway in a year, didn't, yada, yada, yada. And it's all tied up in there. Yeah. In this business, which is elitist and a mess and expensive and wonderful and painful and a roller coaster and changes every day. And you get tied up in thinking like, well, if I'm not booking the things that I really want to, full stop. And it would always blow my mind that ever since I lived here, people would be like, oh, you're like so successful, or like, you want to come on this interview, or like, how'd you do it? Like, you're amazing. And I'm like, no, I'm not. What are you talking about? I'm not even currently working on anything. What does that mean? And it took me a long time, like at least 4 years after 4 years at college, to be like, okay, success is not the same as what other people think. I have to redefine success for myself. And I have to, if other people are going to think that I'm successful, I'm going to have to be willing to also think that I myself am successful. And
oh my gosh.
Also that every little thing you do that is something that you book or is a collaboration or is even remotely artistic or a part of what makes up your own self-identity, all of those little things tied up into a ball are success, career, your talent, your this, your that. That's what they are. It's not like defined by, oh, you were in a Broadway show once. Because I know people who were in a Broadway show once and now are either much happier or more miserable or like in a totally different spectrum. It's not the end all be all.
What I want to know is, oh God, I want to know so many different things, but like, where do I even start? But like, I think about, like we ran into each other in the equity building. And I feel like before this, which I hope there are things that will change once we come back and we go back to the EPAs and things. That being said, how did you handle mentally the day-to-day, go to the open calls, have nobody call you? And like, I'm talking for myself, like I'm still figuring that out, and then having to head to your job and being really exhausted. And again, I hope we don't go back to running ourselves ragged, but what helped you keep yourself mentally healthy during all of that?
Probably the most important thing is that I cannot stand people working jobs that they hate. I'm not talking about don't like, and I'm not talking about you have a bad day and everyone's working hard. That's a separate thing. I'm talking about physical hate. Like some of the catering jobs that I've had in the past, I would be so miserable and that doesn't serve you. You don't need any of this that much. You do not need to be able to go to an EPA that much. You do not need that specific $100 that much, which is to say there's other ways to get it. There's other ways to work around that, because if you're miserable for 6 hours of your day so that you can spend 5 minutes, and that's being gratuitous, in a room with a potential opportunity that they probably already have other things, and that's not life. And that is not success in this business. You have to be able to put together this amalgam of feeling like successful and also a professional, because you're allowed to call yourself a professional actor at any given point, because a degree is not required in this business. Hopefully you get something cool out of your degree, but honestly, it's not going to make or break your path in this business. So you have to be able to pull together this bubble of things like your survival job, get rid of the word, your other jobs, your other components of life, your day-to-day life, your weekly life, monthly. So then the idea being like, some days I am still very fortunate, but I pared it down. I would do a little nannying. I would do some social media work. I would do a couple of events, only things, I've never made a lot of money. So like, I'm not rich by any means, still have tons of student loans, but I'm much happier with my balance of life and creativity than I would be if I was like squeezing in a 9-to-5 job and running away during lunch to go audition. So there would be days where I would have no specific job, that I could go to like 3 PAs, maybe have a slice of pizza, take a picture, feel like a badass. And then that was my whole day. And that felt fun to me, because that was my day, was these auditions. And I would really put a lot of effort into the outfits. I was doing it for me. I was enjoying it. I love auditioning. And I think it's hard to even do that at all if you don't like it. I mean, not everyone loves it, but you have to at least be able to find some joy in it.
Did that come from, where did that come from for you? Were you always that person, or was that a process?
Well, I've always loved auditioning. So that's fair. And I actually think that's another, like, if you hate auditioning like so much, then maybe like try another area of the business first and learn something there about yourself, because you shouldn't be doing anything that you hate, because it's just hard enough. This business is hard enough. Yep. So if you hate auditioning with your whole heart, take a break from it, take classes, try directing, try writing, like give yourself space to try to approach it again, not hating it. But then, I mean, some people don't like it. I've always loved it. So check that. But I had to figure out the other parts. Once I was doing jobs and having days and weeks that I enjoyed more, then I wasn't so desperate in the room, and I looked at it as like this cool opportunity to get to sing. And that was a frame of mind that I had to learn from not feeling that way. So, but I don't think it needed to take as long as it did. I think it was that, I was one of those people who, as I said, just like my whole high school life and before that, like, oh, you're a star, you're going to be amazing. And I'm not any more amazing than thousands of other people who are in this city. But it really affected me, for lots of other anxiety and all kinds of other emotional reasons, that I just was like, oh, I'm worthless because no one is looking at me and saying, you're great, we're going to hire you. And I didn't know how to deal with that. I was like, oh, great. So I feel worthless because none of this is happening.
I feel like some of the skill too is holding, I'm not any more talented than anyone else necessarily, and also holding, but like I am worthy, I'm a successful person, I am an artist, like holding those two things at the same time is woo-hoo, it's hard.
And that's the only way. It's the only way. And what happens when you have, which you just so perfectly said, both of those things in your hand at the same time when you walk in there, what that actually is figuring out who you are. That is being yourself, that was the real thing that changed for me, is when I was able to have the other parts of my life that I like, or create things on social that I felt like, you don't do it for likes or for followers, but the validation of being able to share something creative that resonates with someone else, that's amazing. So like having a little bit of that, Scoop, having a little bit of an event to look forward to, Scoop, having a job that I didn't hate, Scoop, figuring out what I feel best in when I'm wearing it, Scoop, all this kind of little things. I remember it, the year that was the first year like that. It was like 4 years ago now, maybe, because yikes, time flies. But
yep.
where I was like, oh, I feel so much better because I know who I am. And I wasn't booking any work at all, but I was so much happier because I could walk into a room and be a well-rounded me. Or I could not have an audition and be like, I'll have another one soon and be a well-rounded me. That is so much more important than being at an audition every day of the week and working to survive. That's never going to land you in the place you want to be anyway. It's just not how you get there.
And I think I felt this way, was the myth of like, okay, I need to figure out who I am. And because once I do, then I'll start booking things.
Oh, yeah.
And it doesn't happen that way, but it's so much more important because it's like, no, it's for your actual life. It's not, sometimes it will help you book things, or not even book things in the way of like all of my dreams will come true. I'll be on Broadway, but like at least opportunities are more likely to come your way, but it's not going to necessarily be like, I'm Elphaba now because I know who I am.
I know who I am. Imagine you walk into Telsey. Hello, Telsey. I know who I am. I will take my hat. Where's the green makeup? But that's the point, is the well-rounded thing. And then, you never know where it leads.
Somebody wants to know about any like highlight moments for you over the past couple, like, in this after school period of like, when was there a moment where you were like, I'm doing it, this is it, or even if it's, hey, it didn't look the way I thought it would, but I love this so much, it's incredible. What was that moment for you, or a couple?
It's so funny because my first gut reaction to that question is like, oh, nothing. It's just like day to day to day to day. But like, that's probably like a healthy thought. The actual answer would be, things that weren't acting, like getting invited to cool events, which came out of me being my most creative, crazy, and whatever-y self on social media, led to some cool stuff. And like when Milk Bar invited me to their birthday party to meet Christina Tosi, I was like, what? So like,
and you took photos with Billy Porter, like for scenery bags. Like, oh god, wow.
Yeah, that one too. Like, what? And that's not acting. That's just be putting yourself out there, and other stuff happens. But one thing that I think is really important, that is sort of like a sideways way to answer this question, is a lot of times you'll feel like jealous, or whatever other word goes along with that, when you hear that people like, oh, like I booked this because I knew this person, or I was just offered this because I know the casting director, or my friend's writing something and now we're going to Broadway, right? You feel like, oh, that's not fair, right? Well, what I realized too late is that my very talented, good friends who are out there doing stuff, that could be me too. And one of my coolest moments was my best friend from college, who's incredibly talented, Brandon Lambert. He writes the most amazing music. I don't understand how he's not already literally has Broadway shows open. He's the most talented person I know. Just sits down at a piano and can write a song. Don't understand that. Anyone who can do that, you are the real heroes. But he's writing stuff all the time, and I always originate the stuff for him and sing it, and you can look at it for a while like, oh, this is just like we're doing it in his room, and like, this is nothing. Or you can say, this could be something. And if you, that's the same story. Suddenly, it's the same story as all those stories where you're like, oh, that's not fair. It's happening to you.
But we look at it differently when it's us, and we downplay it for some bizarre reason. Yeah.
And when his show that it's only 4 people, it's called Just Laugh. It's so sweet. It's tiny, but when it got picked up to be in the Rave Festival. Again, I could have been like, oh, I'm just doing like a little thing, like it's a couple weeks of a run downtown. But I decided to be like, whoa, I get to perform off Broadway finally, in a 4-person musical where I sing all the mother forking time, and it's amazing, and I love the material, and my friend is so talented, and that might go somewhere. We're still talking about that show. I mean, the pandemic slowed it down, but stuff is happening, and you have, so I looked at it differently. I was already looking at things differently. So it was amazingly cool because I was like, yes, we're originating something. I hyped it up to myself because it is really cool. It doesn't matter how tiny it is. If you get to actually do your stuff in this city, congratulations, you're successful, you've made it. But I had to be willing to admit that, or to like see it that way.
Yes. You have to take those little things and just like a washcloth, like squeeze the joy out of it, and not even like, oh, I'm trying to make this look a certain way, but the joy out of it for ourselves.
Soak it up. Yeah.
I want you to hear what it looks like from an outside perspective, which is like during the pandemic, I'm like, oh my gosh, look at her. Like she is still so creative, still like creating in any possible way. Whether it was painting these little like scenery things that you were making, singing, all of these things. Yeah. I like, for me, I am still very self-conscious about putting stuff related to career out there, like singing, whatever, a monologue, whatever. So where do you come from? Does the self-doubt ever hit for you? Or have you been to a place where you're like, this is me, I'm sharing it, take it or leave it?
Social media is really interesting because obviously it is super layered and complicated. So just gonna push all that to the side and say, in its best light, it is just a free stage. And it is just a living, breathing business card and portfolio if you want to make it that way. So look, I'm not going to tell anyone anymore that you won't be a success if you don't have a social presence. I don't believe that. I'm also not going to say that if you don't have a website or an Instagram, you're hurting yourself. You're not, if it doesn't feel natural to you. But I am going to say that if you're looking to have a free living, breathing business card and creative outlet, then it's waiting for you. So just go for it. I loved Instagram from its like inception. I've been on there like the whole time, and I always treated it like, how cool is this? Like I get to like put out a little thing because I have so many my creative brain is insane. It's just overflowing all the time at all times. Not like I don't also have burnout and that's not what I mean. I just mean like it goes in lots of different directions. Like I love painting, I love creating things, I love crafting. When I nanny, we like make dresses out of wrapping paper. Like that's like how I like love to like, that's what I want to do. So it's actually kind of weird that acting is still my favorite thing. Probably singing if I was going to pick one thing, because I love all that other stuff so much. And before I actually, to cut my own self off, that's what I loved about quarantine, is because I had no other choice. I just gave into all that other stuff I love, which is why it looks like so much. It was because I was like, oh, every other door that I ignore and usually walk from one side of my brain to the actor brain, I'm just gonna pick all these other doors because I can't go over there. So let's open this one. And that was so much fun. That's why it was so much stuff, because I did everything else. But that's what's great about social media, is it's just waiting there for you to use it if you want. And I recommend that if you are remotely, like even looking at you, if you are remotely interested in doing a monologue for an audition room of people, or if someone invited you to an event right now and was like, oh, can you do this? And that would excite you, then go do it on social media, because you can do it without being asked. You can do it for free. You can make it awesome. You can edit it. You can get weird with it. It could flop and it doesn't matter because it's out there. You can put something out there. I get excited every single day that I'm like, oh, I can put another thing out there. And ideally, you also want to use it for good and for helping people and for listening to others.
You do, and you combine it too, like when you painted that art of like when we were voting in Georgia, like things like that. It's so amazing. Fun. Yeah.
And so yes, ideally it's also those things, but if for any one individual person it can only be one thing, that's also okay, as long as you're respecting other people. But at its core, it is this like living, breathing, free stage that if any part of you wants to take advantage of, you're only hurting yourself by not. So not if you don't want to. That's what I'm saying. If any part of you is like, oh, I just wish I could perform in the city, well then perform on Instagram. Just record yourself singing and put it out there. Odds are one person you didn't expect, one, will watch it, maybe compliment you, maybe invite you to do X, Y, and Z. You never know. And so my best friend from college is one thing, and that's where I do a lot of my cool originating stuff. Oh, what he's working on now, it just fills me with glee. But everyone else that I is now a friend that could give me an opportunity, I met on the internet. Because that is our world, especially right now, coming out of quarantine and in quarantine and self-isolation. That is our world, and they're all just out there waiting for you. If you are a professional about it, that is probably the key thing, is not being like only posting terrible selfies and, I don't know, you misbehaving or being rude. Everyone is smart. We get it in this business. So like that, again, push that aside.
Right.
If you're professional about it, everyone's just waiting for you. Send them a
Mhm.
DM if it says that they accept those.
Yeah, you don't have to be invited to do it either. Like we can just invite ourselves.
That's
That,
really key.
yeah, that
There's
is.
not a lot of places that that works. You should feel that way about the industry on the whole, because no one is ever going to say, oh, I'm rolling out the red carpet for you to go live your dreams and be a star. Good luck. That's never, ever going to happen. But social media happens to be the easiest way to just say, oh, okay, here you go. Like you can say, I have this really cool idea for a character. Just write 5 minutes for them and put it on any social media platform and see what happens. And you could flop, but flopping doesn't really exist because you invested your time and maybe your heart, but odds are it's not like you had investors and producers and lots of money and a stage, it's fine. Then you just try something new
And
tomorrow.
people have flopped there and been okay.
Exactly.
Like,
like
okay.
Full-scale musicals have closed after 10 performances and those people are still working. So I think if your TikTok gets 10 views, you just try again tomorrow. Okay. It's all algorithms, baby. It's not you. It's all nonsense. Just don't worry about it.
Oh my God. Oh my God. That's hilarious. Something that also caught my ear that you said too is I've always thought it was interesting. I believed it when I was younger. People would always say, well, all right, go ahead, go be an actor if you can't do anything else. And I don't disagree with that. I think the beauty of it is that so many of us could do other things, but we're choosing this road that has its challenges anyway.
That is huge. And also being able to public speak or empathize or create is useful in literally every other job I can possibly even think of, even like an accountant, like all of it. That is still key stuff that we are so lucky that we have in us to whatever degree you have inside of you. You should be using that not just once a week in an audition room. Put it everywhere.
As things are coming back, number one, like on a fun level, like what's a dream role that you have in mind, that kind of thing, but also just what's on your mind as everything's opening back up again and there's this potential to go back to everything we were doing before. How are you feeling right now?
Terrified of the speed. I do feel, and I know I'm not alone in that. And it's not because I'm not like ready to go perform or I'm worried as a fully vaccinated human that I'm going to get COVID. That's not where the worry comes from. It's the like what we're all saying, which is we don't want to go back to before. We want to move forward. And that is a more complicated thing. So I'm looking for that and obviously totally terrified of everything. I always am. I hope everyone, I could say that, I will say that every day. I'm terrified all the time, guys. It's not, even if you can't tell. So like, it's not just you. I need to hear that so much that I'm not, like that not being alone thing about in any part of life, but even just in acting, like, yeah, terrified, don't know what I'm doing, nothing coming up, all that good stuff. Like, not alone. You're not alone. You're not alone. You're not alone. My big wild dream about it all would be either for one of Brandon's shows to just, he is ready for Broadway. Oh, hello. New York City, baby. Noise. So I would just love he's ready, and I would just love to like go lead one of his shows. My favorite that he's working on with another very talented lady, Lauren Gundrum, is a Jane Goodall musical.
Oh, I knew you were doing. I didn't know that was oh wow, okay.
And it is so good, and it also speaks to like the environment and sustainability and all the other stuff that I really care about. And I'm like, oh, I just want to go do that. So to speak dreams, that. And then also, writing your own stuff sounds like, how often are we going to hear that? Like, what if I'm not a writer? Like, and I feel that I love writing, but I'm not a writer, and I'm never gonna like go try to be Rachel Bloom. Right. But at the same time, I have this vision for a Disney princess who's 30 years old, and I'm trying to write at least the treatment of it and like really pitch it. Like I'm like talking about it a lot because I want someone in my life who might know someone there who I can pitch this to hear it. So, and that is a lesson that it took me that's like my latest lesson is like, speak it and ask for the connections to come to you, because they don't know that you're what you want to do unless you talk about it. So speak it and try and ask and put it out there. And I have this really clear vision for this character. Obviously, I would have to play it either live action or it because it's me, basically.
Yeah.
And that's part of it, that's a deal breaker. So if they're like, yeah, we want to buy this, I don't know, I'm talking about like as if I would turn down Disney. I wouldn't. Let's be real. I'll be real for a minute. I'd be like, okay, whatever you want, but that aside, like, so I'm trying to like speak that and work on that, which is only also to say the answer to your big dreams question, but also to say like, even if it feels like something that you don't normally do or that you're no good at, have no experience in, or that someone else can do better, it doesn't mean you're not allowed to try.
I really encourage everyone who's watching, like, especially if you're on the journey thinking about school, what do I do? Like, just get to know Katie online a little bit and you will come to such a great understanding, especially from this interview, of just like, there are so many roads to Rome here. And I
love that. That's like all I ever want to do, make people feel like they have creative opportunity that they can't see.
Mm-hmm. It's so generous of you to just share like the nitty gritty, the good, the bad, all of it. I so appreciate it. And we will talk to you again, and we will promote anything that you have coming up. And like, I can't wait. I
love it. Thank you. And hello to the internet.
Thank you, internet.